Evan Carter had been a soldier for 7 years, but nothing felt as strange as standing inside an alien royal ship. The corridor walls glowed with soft blue lights, and the air smelled faintly like metal and flowers. He tried to stay calm, but his fingers tapped nervously on his suit. Human soldiers rarely got close to alien royalty, and Evan had been selected only because he was known for one thing: he never ran away. Today, he was assigned as temporary security for Princess Aurelia of the Solari Empire. He had seen her only once from a distance. Tall, gentle, glowing like moonlight, and surrounded by 10 elite guards. Evan felt completely out of place. But before he could finish that thought, the entire ship shook violently. A loud alarm exploded through the halls. Red lights flashed. The gentle blue lights vanished, replaced by a deep, warning crimson. Then the sound came. A lone, sharp boom that made Evan feel like his bones were buzzing. "What was that?" Evan shouted. One of the alien guards grabbed the wall, eyes wide with fear. "They found us. The Hunters." Evan had heard of them only in rumors. A ruthless species that hunted royal families across galaxies. They never left survivors. If they had found the princess, then the ship was in deadly danger. Another explosion hit, harder than before. Evan fell to one knee, gripping the floor. The alarms turned louder, almost screaming. The lead Solari guard shouted orders in their native language. Everyone looked terrified. Even the highly trained guards kept looking over their shoulders. Evan knew fear when he saw it. He also knew what it meant. The Hunters were not stopping until the princess was dead. A sudden voice came through his communicator. "Human soldier. Report to the princess's chamber immediately." Evan stood up and forced himself to move. His heart pounded. "I thought you had guards." "They are already heading there," the voice replied. "But you are closest. Go. Now." He didn't argue. He sprinted down the hall, past flickering lights and shaking walls. The ship groaned like something massive had latched onto its side. When Evan reached the princess's chamber, 2 guards were already attempting to lock the door. But something was wrong. One guard lay on the ground, armor split open as if crushed by huge claws. Evan swallowed hard. Inside, Princess Aurelia stood at the center of the room, hands trembling slightly. Her silver hair floated softly around her face, reacting to the energy fields in the chamber. She looked calm, but Evan saw fear in her eyes. "Princess," Evan said, trying to hide his shock. "We need to move you to safety." Before she could answer, a loud metallic screech came from the hallway. Something sharp was cutting through the door. Sparks flew as the metal glowed red-hot. Aurelia stepped back. "They are here." Evan raised his weapon. "Get behind me." The princess hesitated. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do," Evan said. His voice was firm. "It's my job." The cutting stopped. A second of silence fell like a heavy curtain. Then the door exploded inward. 3 hunters rushed inside. Their bodies were tall, armored in bone-like plates. Their eyes burned with red light. They moved like shadows, fast, silent, deadly. Evan didn't think. He jumped in front of the princess. The first hunter swung a blade made from dark, glowing metal. Evan blocked it with his forearm guard, but the impact sent him flying into the wall. Pain exploded through his ribs. He pushed himself back up, vision blurry. The princess screamed as the hunters approached. Evan fired his weapon, hitting one in the chest. But the creature barely flinched. It snarled, then charged at him again. The second hunter leaped toward the princess. Evan threw himself between them, tackling the alien midair. They crashed to the ground. Sharp claws slashed across Evan's back armor, tearing through plates and into skin. But he didn't stop. He rolled to the side, grabbed the hunter's arm, and fired point-blank into its throat. This time, the creature fell. The third hunter roared, rushing toward Aurelia. Evan stumbled to his feet, barely standing, and blocked the creature with his own body. The hunter's blade cut deep into Evan's shoulder. Blood splashed onto the floor. His vision dimmed. His legs shook. He was dying. But behind him, he heard Aurelia's soft, terrified breathing. She was still alive because he was still standing. So he forced himself forward. With one last burst of strength, Evan rammed his broken armor into the hunter, slamming it into the wall. The blade in his shoulder twisted deeper, making his knees collapse. But he didn't let go. He pulled the hunter down with him and smashed his helmet against its skull. The creature fell still. Evan collapsed to the floor, gasping. His suit flickered with sparks. Data screens in his visor dimmed. His blood formed a small pool beneath him. He tried to stand but couldn't. Princess Aurelia ran to him and knelt beside him. "You protected me, with your life." "Why?" Evan coughed, tasting metal. "Because, someone has to stop them." Her hands glowed softly as she tried to heal him. Tears formed in her eyes. "If you die, it will be my fault." He tried to speak, but his voice faded. Another hunter suddenly burst into the doorway, bigger and stronger than the rest, its armor glowing with markings. Aurelia gasped. A champion. Evan tried to lift his weapon, but his arm wouldn't move. His body refused every command. The champion raised a massive blade. It aimed directly at Evan's chest. Aurelia screamed, "No!" The blade swung down. And at that moment, a blinding white light filled the room. The walls shook from a new wave of force energy. Everything vanished in brightness. Evan's world turned silent. His eyes closed. Darkness swallowed him. Evan Carter woke to the sound of slow, steady beeps. The air smelled too clean, and there was no shaking, no alarms, no screaming. Only silence. His eyes opened slowly. He lay inside a round healing chamber, floating weightless inside warm blue liquid. His body no longer burned with pain. The deep cuts were gone. Even the cracked ribs felt whole again. For a moment, Evan wondered if he was dead. But then the chamber drained, and the glass dome lifted with a soft hiss. Cold air rushed over his skin. He coughed hard, sitting up as water dripped from his hair and armor. "You are awake," a calm voice said behind him. Evan turned and froze. Queen Seraphine of the Solari Empire stood there, surrounded by her royal guards. Her presence alone felt powerful. Her long white cloak floated behind her without wind. Her eyes glowed like soft silver suns. Evan quickly tried to stand, but his legs were weak. Two guards moved to help him, yet the queen lifted her hand and they stopped. "He stood alone against the hunters," she said softly. "He does not kneel." Evan felt uncomfortable. He wasn't used to nobility, and he had never been called brave by anyone other than his old commander. What happened?" Evan asked. The queen stepped closer. "You fought 3 hunters alone. You protected my daughter until your body stopped moving. The moment you fell, Princess Aurelia released a blast of energy to save you both." Evan blinked. "She saved me?" "Yes," Seraphine said. "Because you saved her first." Evan lowered his head. "I was just doing my job." "No," the queen said firmly. "No human or alien guard on that ship did what you did. You did not protect her because of orders. You protected her because you chose to." There was something strange in her voice, something emotional. Before Evan could ask more, another door slid open. Princess Aurelia stepped inside. She wore a simple gown and had no crown on her head. Her silver hair fell in soft waves, and her eyes shined with warmth and a little guilt. Evan looked away. He wasn't used to princesses staring at him. Aurelia walked slowly up to him. "I'm glad you're alive." He nodded, awkward. It was close. The queen studied the two of them quietly, then took a breath. "Evan Carter," she said. "I have called you here because I must offer you something. Something no outsider has been offered in thousands of years." Evan felt his stomach drop. "Your Majesty."
I don't understand.
Seraphine clasped her hands. Her voice became formal, heavy with meaning. You saved the heir of the Solari Empire.
You risked your life without hesitation.
According to our ancient laws, such a man is worthy of becoming part of the royal bloodline.
Evan's eyes widened.
Royal, what?
Princess Aurelia's face turned red.
She lowered her head, embarrassed.
The queen continued, I am offering you the position of son-in-law.
You would join our family, our house, our protection.
And in return, you will protect Aurelia for the rest of your life.
Evan stared at her. He thought she was joking.
But no one in the room laughed.
All the guards looked dead serious. Your Majesty, Evan said slowly, I'm a human soldier.
A normal one. I don't belong in a royal family.
Your actions say otherwise, the queen replied.
Aurelia spoke softly, Mother, maybe we should give him time. There is no time, Seraphine cut in. A loud warning suddenly echoed through the palace walls. Boom!
The lights flickered.
Evan immediately stepped forward. What was that? A guard rushed in and kneeled before the queen.
Your Majesty, the hunters survived. Their main fleet has arrived in orbit.
Another explosion shook the chamber.
Evan felt the same cold fear from before, but stronger.
How many? The queen asked.
The guard swallowed.
Hundreds of warships.
Evan whispered, hundreds. The queen closed her eyes.
They will not stop. They want the princess.
They want her power.
Evan frowned. Power? What power?
Aurelia stepped closer, her voice quiet but honest.
My bloodline carries something special. Something old. A kind of energy that can unite or destroy entire systems.
If I fall, many worlds will fall into chaos.
Evan stared at her.
She wasn't speaking with pride.
She sounded tired, like this burden had followed her since birth. The queen said, This is why I offered you the bond.
You are the only one who has proven they can protect her against death.
Your Majesty, Evan whispered, unsure how to breathe. You want me to marry into a royal family? During a war?
Not for love or politics, the queen answered.
For protection.
For the survival of the galaxy.
Aurelia's cheeks reddened again. And also because I trust you.
Those words struck Evan harder than any hunter blade. He looked at her, and for the first time he saw the truth, she trusted him more than her elite guards, more than her own council.
Before he could answer, the entire palace shook violently. Boom! The lights turned red.
A ship-wide alarm screamed.
A guard shouted, Your Majesty! The hunters are landing troops. They will reach the palace soon. Evan's training kicked in.
We need to move the princess to a safe room.
Now.
Seraphine looked at him, her silver eyes bright.
Then answer me, human soldier. Will you protect her again, even if it costs your life? Evan didn't hesitate this time.
Yes, he said.
I'll protect her. Not because of a title. Not because of a royal rule. But because I don't want her to get hurt again. Aurelia looked up, eyes shining with emotion.
The queen nodded slowly. Then from this moment, you walk beside her as guardian and future son-in-law. You have the right to stand at her side.
Evan swallowed hard.
Part of him wanted to deny it, to say he wasn't worthy. But there was no time for doubt.
The palace trembled again. He grabbed a weapon from a nearby rack. Where do you need me most? Aurelia stepped next to him. By my side. Their eyes met. For a moment, everything felt still. Then another explosion shattered the walls.
Evan and the princess ran toward the exit while guards rushed to defend the palace. The sound of hunter weapons echoed across the halls, growing closer. Evan had no idea what waited outside.
A war? A death sentence? A destiny he never asked for? But one thing was clear. He wasn't letting Aurelia fight alone.
He was her shield now. The palace halls were no longer quiet or beautiful. They shook with every blast. Dust fell from the high ceilings. The golden walls that once showed ancient history were now cracked and burning. Evan Carter ran beside Princess Aurelia, his weapon ready, his breath fast. Alien guards rushed past them, shouting orders, preparing defensive lines. Everyone moved with fear in their eyes. The hunters had arrived.
Where is the safest place? Evan asked without slowing down. Aurelia pointed ahead.
The inner throne chamber.
Thickest walls in the palace.
It can hold off an army for hours.
That's enough time, Evan said.
But inside, he knew it wasn't.
The hunters didn't stop.
Ever. As they turned a corner, two hunters burst through a door, tall, armored monsters with glowing red eyes. They charged toward Aurelia instantly. Evan stepped in front of her without thinking. He fired 3 quick shots.
The blasts hit the first hunter in the chest, making it stumble.
The second leaped at him, claws out.
Evan dodged and slammed his elbow into its jaw.
The creature roared and slashed his arm, tearing his armor open. Pain shot into his shoulder, but Evan ignored it.
He swept the hunter's legs and shot it point blank. The first hunter charged again.
Evan braced himself. But a bright silver beam hit the creature from the side. Aurelia stood with her hands raised, energy glowing from her palms. The beam pushed the hunter into the wall, burning through its armor. Evan stared at her in shock.
You did that? She looked down, almost shy. I can control a little of my power now. A little? Evan said. That was amazing. Aurelia blushed slightly, but before she could say anything, another explosion shook the floor. We have to move, she said.
They kept running, passing fallen guards and broken walls. The closer they got to the inner throne chamber, the more violent the attacks became. Hunters were everywhere. But something felt strange to Evan.
They weren't attacking randomly.
They were moving in a pattern, like they were searching. And they were searching for her.
Aurelia noticed his silence. What are you thinking?
They want you alive, Evan said quietly.
Not dead. She nodded.
Yes. To control the power I carry.
Evan clenched his teeth. Then we can't let them reach you.
They reached the massive doors of the throne chamber. Guards were fighting desperately to keep the hunters out.
Bodies, both Solari and Hunter, lay across the floor.
The captain of the guard shouted, "Your Highness!
Inside, quickly!" Aurelia and Evan rushed through the doors.
The moment they entered, the guards pulled the heavy metal gates closed behind them. They locked the giant bolts and activated energy seals. For a moment, everything was quiet. The throne chamber was dark and cold.
A giant crystal throne stood at the center.
Blue flames floated in large bowls along the walls.
Aurelia exhaled shakily. We are safe, for now. Evan scanned the room.
How strong are these walls? They can resist nuclear weapons, Aurelia said.
But nothing can stop the hunter champion. Evan froze. There's a champion here? Aurelia nodded with fear in her voice. Yes. The one who almost killed you.
Before Evan could respond, a heavy boom echoed outside the doors.
Then another. And another.
The champion had arrived.
The metal bent inward with each strike. Dust fell from the ceiling. Guards struggled to reinforce the gates. Evan stood in front of Aurelia. His body tensed. If he gets through, we fight together. Aurelia looked up at him.
Her eyes were bright, shining with fear and trust.
You're not afraid? I'm terrified, Evan said honestly. But I'm more afraid of losing you. Aurelia's breath caught.
Her cheeks flushed. She opened her mouth to say something.
Boom!
The doors shattered. The hunter champion stepped inside.
He was taller than anything Evan had ever seen.
8 feet of armor, glowing red markings, and a massive blade as long as Evan's whole body. The guards rushed him, but the champion moved like lightning. He struck once, twice, 3 times, guards fell instantly. Evan raised his weapon and fired again and again. The blasts hit the champion, but the creature barely reacted. A deep voice echoed through the room, coming from the champion.
"Give me the princess. And you may die quickly." Aurelia stepped back, trembling. Evan stepped forward, blocking her again. "Come and take her." The champion roared and rushed toward him. Evan met the attack head-on. His weapon was smashed aside instantly. The champion swung its massive blade. Evan barely dodged, feeling the wind of the strike slice past his face. He grabbed a spear from the floor and swung it, hitting the champion's jaw. It did almost nothing. The champion grabbed Evan by the chest and threw him across the room. Evan crashed into a stone pillar. His vision blurred. Pain shot through his bones. But he stood up again. The champion growled. "You cannot protect her, human." Evan wiped blood from his mouth. "Watch me." The champion charged again. This time, Evan rolled aside and stabbed the spear into the champion's leg joint. The creature roared in pain. Evan ducked another strike and slammed his fist into the champion's head. The monster stumbled. Aurelia raised her hands. Light gathered around her, bright and powerful. "Evan! Move!" Evan jumped away just as she released a blast of silver energy. It hit the champion square in the chest, throwing him backward into the wall. But the champion didn't fall. He staggered forward, armor cracking but not broken. "You cannot win," he snarled. Aurelia's energy flickered, she was almost out of strength. Evan ran back to her side. "Use my energy." "I can't," she whispered. "It could kill you." "You saved me before," Evan said quickly. "Do it again." Aurelia hesitated only a second. Then she grabbed his hand. A shock of cold and heat ran through his arm. His vision flashed white. Aurelia's power flowed into him, through him, filling his body like fire and lightning together. Evan gasped. His muscles tightened. His pain vanished. His armor glowed with silver light. Aurelia whispered, "Don't let go." He didn't. The champion charged. Evan charged too. Their clash shook the entire chamber. Evan dodged a strike, moved faster than ever before, and punched the champion's chest with all his strength. The armor cracked wide open. The champion roared. Evan stepped forward and drove his fist, glowing with Aurelia's energy, through the crack. A shockwave burst across the room. The champion fell. Dead. Silence filled the throne chamber. Aurelia collapsed weakly, but Evan caught her gently. Her energy faded. She leaned against him, exhausted. "You did it," she whispered. "No," Evan said softly. "We did it." Guards rushed in, cheering. Outside, scanners showed the hunter fleet retreating. Their champion was slain. Their attack had failed. Hours later, in the quiet of the restored chamber, Queen Seraphine approached Evan and Aurelia. The princess stood beside him, still tired but smiling softly. The queen placed a ceremonial crest on Evan's chest. "Evan Carter," she said, "you came to us as a soldier. You became our protector. And today, you became the hero of our empire." Aurelia took Evan's hand gently, without fear this time. He didn't pull away. The queen spoke again, her voice warm and proud. "You saved my daughter twice. In my eyes, you are already part of this family." Evan looked at Aurelia. She smiled with a shy but bright expression. For the first time, he smiled back. He had arrived as a soldier from Earth. But he stayed. As a legend written among the stars.